nuts. Oh, Chinese nuts. 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 Nuts. Chinese 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 nuts. Chinese
Asshole has left the server.
Chinese nuts. 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 Suck on these little 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 Chinese nuts. 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 Nuts. That's nice. Chinese nuts. 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 That's nice. Chinese nuts. 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 Chinese nuts.